What's good? We back. Motor City Sports Talk. Y'all know what it is. Your boy CJ Goodfella. I'm talking about, part of the plan to replace Eric Ebron. Hope the Lions have a plan in place. Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia seem like pretty calculated gentlemen. And let's talk about a couple of guys that I selected free agency wise. And talk about Antonio Gates. He is a Detroit native. I've ran into him in Detroit as well, so he is a Detroit native. Because they got that Michael Roberts kid from Toledo. So I think he's the only tight end, and the other guy on the roster is one other one. I can't remember his name. So maybe give him a veteran, who can kind of ease him on in, and then draft another tight end, which I'll get into in a minute. Martellus Bennett, he out there. He got in trouble with the Packers last year for not disclosing an injury. And I think he ended up winning the Super Bowl he lost the Super Bowl with the Patriots last year. They did lose. I think he went to the Patriots after the Packers released him. Julius Thomas from the Dolphins had a very promising last year with Denver, and then went to Jacksonville and Miami and couldn't stay healthy and pretty much stunk up the joint. Luke Wilson, he always popped off on film with me with Seattle. I think he'd be a great fit for Detroit, and he definitely fit their budget. He ain't gonna break the bank. If you're wondering about Tyler Eifert, he signed a 1-year, $8 million deal to come back to the Bengals for one more year. And the tight end position should be very, very important in this offense because it actually controls the middle of the field. And it actually gives Golden Tate a threat in the middle of the field that let him do what he do. In routes, out routes, drags, zigzags. Even fly and post routes. It opens up a lot for him. And with Ebron, nobody really cared about Ebron. They was able to pass him on in zone coverage or, man up. And if he broke free with his athletic ability, you could just count on him dropping the ball to 6 for the whole game. So he really wasn't a threat. So people on the inside pay extra attention to Golden Tate, which, was the reason probably why his numbers went down, because Ebron never did in Detroit what he was supposed to do. And that was being able to be a threat down the field and in the middle of the field. Especially in the middle of the field, he never was able to do that. And he wasn't able to catch the ball, so they never had to double Ebron to give him special attention at the tight end or in the slot or coming across the middle of the field or deep middle of the field. And pickings are slim, very, very slim at tight end. And, they talked about bringing in Brent Selleck, who is serviceable. He's a serviceable tight end. Possibly for that Roberts kid to come on in and bridge the gap and get him ready. The tight end position is one of the toughest positions, depending on your offense, to transition to in the NFL. We've seen it with Ebron. It took him he never transitioned. Let me just keep it real. He never really transitions. So, you don't see a lot of huge tight end rookie years. Year 2, 3, and 4, then you really started to see certain tight ends bubble and really develop and blossom. But like I said, if I had to get a pick out of what's left, I didn't pick Brent Selleck on here, but he'll be a good pick. He still got a little athletic ability to get up and down the field, and he catches the ball as well. Him and Roberts will be straight. I like Luke Wilson as well. He's a guy with some athletic ability and catch a lot of big balls from Russell Wilson in Seattle. I definitely like what he brings to the offense, especially he pretty much got good hands and he can stretch the field and get down the field and make tough catches. I think he's a diamond in the rough, in my opinion. I think Bennett will be the last one. Bennett and Thomas probably the last two I depend on. I think Bennett is a good blocker, though, so maybe he has value there, but he's just getting so old. Thomas hasn't been able to stay healthy. Gates had some big games down the stretch last year, so, to bring him home and retire as a Lion, that's something to think about for a minute, for Antonio Gates. I think that's something to think about. But Selleck, Wilson, and Gates, I think, are pretty much good fits for the Lions. That's the best it's going to get, in my opinion, unless you're talking about acquiring a tight end via trade. Also, Ben Watson, he old as hell. He out there. But hopefully the Lions don't be stupid enough to draft a tight end in the first round. Ebron, Brandon Pettigrew, you don't have to draft a tight end in the first round. Look at the Browns drafted David Njoku, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be good. But last year, he really didn't have no impact with the Browns. And we know it's the Browns, but, it's hard to get a tight end that had impact. Evan Ingram, it took him 8, 9 games to really, catch on with the Giants and get a hot start. He ended up getting injured too. And the thing about the reason why he got the high end of the season, because they didn't have nobody else to throw to. So Ebron had to abuse Evan Ingram from Ole Miss. So, I mean, it's hard to sell me on a tight end in the first round. You know, look at O.J. Howard last year. I mean, he had an eye year. He had 1 or 2 big games, but like I told you, a first round tight end is hard for me to pick because, you know, the position asks you to do so much. It asks you to be an H-back. It asks you to be in the slot. Some ask you to play on the outside. Some ask you got to learn blocking schemes. You got to learn run blocking schemes. You got to learn the tight end routes. You got to learn the offensive run blocking schemes, the pass audibles. It's so much to really learn and grasp for a rookie. So that's why you don't see a lot of huge tight end rookie years. But at some point in the draft, they're probably going to draft a tight end. I'm not sure about the draft prospects of a tight end in this year's draft. I know it's one guy that you know, it's Todd McShay or Mel Kiper wanted the Lions to pick in the first round. And they better not pick a tight end in the first round. Seriously, you know, I think it'll be an idiotic move, but I think they got to bring in a veteran for sure. And I like Selleck, I like Wilson, I like Gates coming back home to finish his career. Those are 3 I like. You know, if I had to rank them, I'll probably go Wilson if he's young. I think he's younger than Selleck. Wilson, Selleck, then Gates, and then everybody else falls behind him. But yeah, you know, the sentimental, emotional part of me wants to see Antonio Gates in Lion uniform one last time. But he is very old, and he had to be a spot player, a red zone player, or for sure spot player. But him and Stafford would be nice. You know, Gates got a little bit juice left, but Wilson, I think, is younger than Selleck, and every time I would see him play for Seattle, he'll make a play down the field and catch a big ball. You know, very shifty for a tight end and very quick getting down the field. So that's the number 1 tight end I want the Lions to replace with for right now. Not expensive, and then next year you could bring somebody else in, or you could develop Roberts, or you could bring a rookie in this year and continue to develop. But, you know, Lions got to admit now, well, Bob Quinn don't have to admit now, but Lions got to admit now that, you know, they made a big mistake not getting Aaron Donald or Odell Beckham or everybody else. I mean, if you remember that draft pick of Eric Ebron in this video, the Lions didn't let but a minute or 2 get off that clock before they ran that card up there for Eric Ebron. Everybody knew Eric Ebron couldn't catch. He had one of the highest drop rates coming out that year. And that year, the Lions was rumored to move up, to trade up to get Sammy Watkins. Thank God they didn't do that. But Eric Ebron didn't work out. You know, he didn't. And they made a big mistake. And let's hope we won't make that mistake again and being able to evaluate talent for real.